and she's elected as Superintendent of Public Instruction.
Hi everyone, thank you so much for having me. My name is Shiry Sapir. I am running for Superintendent of Public Instruction to take out Kathy Hoffman. She's the liberal, radical, progressive superintendent we have right now in that office. Yeah, she swore on a children's book for her inauguration. That should have told everyone what they needed to know. They should have said, you know, we take it back. We shouldn't have really given you that seat. But this is the state of mind that these people have. And I came here from Israel over 20 years ago. I served in the Israeli military working with bereaved families. I helped them with logistical, emotional, medical needs. And my unit was also negotiating, bringing back the remains of missing soldiers. So my work in the military was working with families. And last year, and now it's almost 2 years, it's hard to believe, when everything happened with COVID and they shut down the schools, I have 3 young children, 9, 7, and 3. They sent them home. And I watched my kids on Zoom just dancing around, not understanding what they're supposed to do, and I knew they were not going to progress. My child was in kindergarten. I knew he wasn't going to know how to read and write. We were all on Facebook groups and mamas groups. Everybody was frustrated and outraged, and the outcry was so loud, I couldn't ignore it anymore. And I said to myself, something is wrong with our system. Right? I have to pay now for a private school for my children, while my tax money is parked through the public schools. And it took 7 months to the district to open the schools, while my kids were without a mask, in person, in the classroom. So I decided to run. I have a real estate investment company in Scottsdale. I never thought I would run for a political office. I don't want to be a politician, but this is not about politics anymore. You know, they came after us, it's one thing, but when they're coming after our children, it's a different story. We're not going to let them do that. And with COVID, we got a chance to see a lot of what was going on in our schools. Now, we know the education system in America has been going downhill for decades. They've been indoctrinating Americans since the John Dewey days, 100 years ago. Definitely since the 60s. They took God out of the schools with the 1962 and 1963 Supreme Court rulings to ban prayer in the schools and to ban reading the Bible. Reading the Bible in America. So all of these things have happened, and with political correctness and cultural adjustments that we made because of the liberal progressive pushing us to accept things that we really shouldn't have accepted. Terminology, the terms that they're using, that's why we have to kind of obey to or agree to the critical race theory, the equity concept, all of these concepts that they come up with, and we kind of were political correct, and we said, you know, it's okay, we'll accept them, when they were against our values, against our morals, against anything that we believe in. And I think now is the time for us to say, you know what? Time out. You've advanced beyond where you should have. And we're not going to have a lot of politicians, and we're not going to have a lot of educators that are going to do what's right by our kids, because if they could, they would have done it by now. And we're almost too late. The window of opportunity is closing for us to change the course that we're on, and we must do it to save our children. This is a children rescue mission, and I don't mean to say that in a sensational and dramatic way. I'm not a dramatic person. This is that serious. When they're bringing pornography into the classroom, as if it's an ordinary business, and they're okay with it. They're grooming our kids in schools. Sex education is not what it's supposed to be. I remember my sex education class in Israel. It was about 45 minutes. We all giggled. The teacher felt extremely uncomfortable, and it was over. 45 minutes in all. Now they're sitting day after day after day talking to them about their identity, about really pornographic books that they're letting them read. The libraries are filled with gender identity and gender fluidity and other kind of stories that our kids are too young to deal with. And so we have to eradicate all that. Well, how are we going to do that, you ask yourself, right? Because it does seem that they took over every good aspect of education. Number one is school choice. The money must follow the child. We need to fund the students, not the system anymore. And the only way to really break away from the claws of the government is going to be if we have the choice, the educational freedom, where parents can take their kids wherever they see fit their
religious beliefs, their values, or their academic expectations for their children. And although school choice is something that the Democrats always stand against, and why? Why? Well, they say, it's not equitable, right? Well, what's equitable? What does the term equity even mean? It means equal outcome to all. It means it doesn't matter who you are, what you are, where you're from, what your skills are, what your talents are. You're supposed to be on the same level with everyone else. Well, guess what? That's another term that they've constructed that we have to adopt, but we don't have to anymore. We're going to say no to equity on every level. We believe in equality. That's what this country is about. And equality means is to take the kids from the less advantaged areas and put them in better schools as soon as possible, really. Because that's really the only way for you to desegregate. Public institutions are the most segregated institutions we have, just by virtue of geography. If you're in the same area, with the same socioeconomic peers, with the same racial makeup, you're not really segregating these kids. Why don't you want them somewhere else? The Democrats 60 years ago stood in the way of children of color from coming into the schools. Now they're standing in the door, preventing them from getting out. These are the Democrats. And it's our job as responsible, and it doesn't matter if you're a Republican, our job as responsible, decent citizens to make sure that we protect every child in Arizona. So school choice is number one, parental control is number two. These are our kids, not the government, not the state. We have all rights and all authority over every decision that has to do with our kids. And they're coming between the children and their families. We tell our kids at home, make sure you respect your teacher, listen to what they say. What do they tell them in the classroom? Your parents are wrong. If your parent is telling you to have an abortion is wrong, don't worry about it. We have Planned Parenthood right here. We're going to take care of it. Oh, your parent doesn't want you to have a vaccine? Don't worry about it. We'll take care of it. We're your friend. This is what they do. And they're breaking the bond. I'm all over the state. I've been traveling now for 7 months. And everywhere I go, people tell me our children went to universities, they went to colleges, they went liberal, and they don't want to speak to us anymore. And I see that that's the real pandemic or epidemic that we have in this country. And we have to stop that because they are creating Democratic voters every single day in our schools. And these are just schools, these are just buildings. We don't have to protect the building, we need to protect our children. As a superintendent, what can I do, you ask yourself? Number one, Kathy Hoffman established the Equity, Diversity, and Inclusion Department in the Department of Education. That department will be closed the first day I'm in office. And that's going to be huge because this is, not only are we setting the tone, okay, this is a lot of the information that comes down to the school boards. That they're forcing them, or not forcing them because a lot of the school boards are now kind of happily taking it. They're not going to be able to get it from me. The school boards may get it from somewhere else. They're not going to get it from us. Because we're going to have the 1776 department in the Department of Education. And we're going to make sure that every child in America after 12 years in school are going to know the Constitution, the Declaration of Independence, who were the founding fathers. You're going to know how to read and write in cursive. This should be pretty basic. Should be pretty basic right now. And for some reason, they think that this is a no-no. No, we're going to have Washington and all of these other founding fathers' pictures in these schools. We need to have American institutions. This is America. And this concerns me as an immigrant. We have nowhere else to go. I came here, I lived the American dream, and I want to make sure that each child in America, and definitely in Arizona, where I'm trying to run and fight this, is going to have that opportunity because this is the best place on earth. So I'm told that I have only about 1 minute. I'll take questions. Okay, that's okay?
We have 5 minutes for questions.
5 minutes for questions. Let me take some questions, and then I'll finish. Go ahead.
So you mentioned that it's important to bring more disadvantaged children into higher education or better neighborhoods that have better schools, something like that. So with that in mind, which would you say is more important, that or placing an emphasis on rebuilding the family?
Well, I think we need to do both at the same time. You see, we're in a cultural war, and what happens in education partly happened because of this breaking down of the nuclear family that we've seen in this country, taking the emphasis away from a father and a mother, that you have all kinds of different structures or family. Hopefully they're not a mother and a father as far as the Democrats are concerned. So if we're going to have more religious institutions, more religious schools, okay, if we're going to be able to bring our kids back to the churches, and I'm Jewish, it's not about being Christian or Jewish, it doesn't matter. If you're going to have that going on, and if the educational institutions are going to emphasize the importance of the family, then you're going to be able to create those bonds back. But right now, they're breaking them down as much as they can in the educational institutions. I'm not saying that academic achievement is the most important thing. Not every kid can learn certain things, and they don't have to. I'm actually very much, and I'm going to fight very hard to have vocational, technical career education in high schools especially, because really some kids should not go to college, especially not now. I would not send anybody to college if I was a parent with this kind of environment. But we're going to need to train our kids to, instead of talking about critical race theory, to talk about critical job theory, so they can go out and make a living and actually be a productive member of society. So that's kind of the wholesome. We have a lot of cultural adjustments that we need to make. You have another question?
Yeah, so would it be within your power to say, so if they're trying to put critical race theory and other
That's right, it's there.
Yeah, well, yeah. Would you be able to do something as far as like promote like a family theory, or you know what I mean?
Absolutely. So that's exactly it, right? We're going to set the tone. So right now, if you go on the Department of Education website, you're going to see everything about equity, diversity, inclusion, everything. Even Kathy Hoffman advertised for teachers, and she specifically said that she's preferring hiring teachers of color. Now, this is against the Civil Rights Act of 1964. This is against the law. You cannot at least stop doing that, advertising according to race, back in the 60s and the 50s. How dare she do that? So we need to stop that nonsense, and we do need to create more of an environment of when our information goes down out there to our children. It's about the family, it's about morals and values and things that they're not talking to them about at all right now in schools. That's part of the job of a teacher, is to develop a character, not identity, right? And that's what they're doing. All they do is create identities in the schools. Another question? Go ahead.
Last one, this way.
Okay.
So are you going to be able to stop the FBI from targeting concerned parents and labeling them as domestic
I
terrorists?
don't know if I can stop the FBI. I'm probably on their watch list by now, but and I'll take it for all of you. You're welcome.
Would you be able to, or
I'm not going to be able to.
would you address it?
I cannot protect us from the government on that level. We're not going to be able to do that. But what we can do, and I tell people, I'm not Jesus. It's not going to be we're going to come and everything is going to change overnight. But we have to start somewhere. We have to say, you know what? This is where we're heading. I'm a pilot. I know how to get out of a stall, okay? But to get out of a stall, you need to have the controls, right? For as long as we're not the leaders, the rule making, the lawmakers, or the decision makers, we're going right down with that airplane. We need to get out of this stall as soon as possible, and that's what I'm going to do. It's going to take time, but I assure you, things will look a lot different once we're in that office.
Thank you.
So my biggest question, even with Doug Duke even years ago, is he promised he would get rid of course, it was AIDS and AIDS marriage and Common Core. Again, it's I keep hearing this over and over. For anybody who gets in a certain spot, a certain electoral spot, what can you do? Because that is the biggest thing that, again, teachers, which I cannot stand, I would abolish it because it's federal money to dumb down into kids. So
Right.
what can the superintendent of instruction do to go ahead and abolish it?
Right.
We quit taking 25 million, 50 million from the state or from the government and start housing everything inside Arizona.
Right. First of all, we need to look at the standards. I'm going to have a committee to review the standards, okay? Because we still have Common Core. I don't care if they call it Arizona standards. We still have Common Core, and it is tied to funding. So we're going to have a review and see what we like, what we don't like. There's a lot of great curriculum that we can adopt. Hillsdale College right now, Lake Havasu is using it. It's amazing for civics. So we're going to do all that. That's on that level. When it comes to funding, every time there's going to be an application on my desk that says, here, sign here, and you're going to get more funding from the federal government, I'm going to say no. No, I'm not going to take any money from them. And you know why I know we can do that and still survive? Number one, because we have billions of dollars. Number two, charter schools and private schools can survive without the federal money. So there is a business concept in education that can succeed without being dependent on the government. And that's what we're going to enhance and support and empower when I'm in office.
Thank you.
Sure.
Property tax payers, homeowners, to redirect the chunks of money that are going for every property tax bill that's paid to this indoctrination?
No, that's going to be a legislature issue. No, but what I want to do is the school choice. So right now we have empowerment scholarship accounts in Arizona. That's the school choice option we have, where parents can actually take the money and take their kid wherever they want. We actually had 3 Republicans. We had an expansion of ESA that was proposed 4 months ago, and 3 Republicans voted against it. Udall, who is running in this race with me, Michelle Udall, John Joel, and Osborne. They could have expanded it to 600,000 more children in Arizona to have that option, where their money, at least your money goes where the parents want. And they are so adamant about not giving that choice to kids, and they killed that bill. 3 Republicans, so please remember that. I'll finish because I see Sylvia's getting up. My name is Shiry Sapir. You have my information. I am running clean elections, which means I collect $5 donations from 1,800 people. I really just need 1,500, but I wanted 300 extra. I have 1,500, so I need the 300 extra $5 donations by the end of this month. If you can sign my forms that I have around, give me the $5. That's going to be the best $5 you ever spent. That money is given to the Secretary of State, and she in returns give me close to $300,000 for my race. That way I'm not taking any money from special interest groups, not that the teachers' unions are going to pick me. But please, if you can help that, sign my petition, take some petitions and get signatures for me. I have 10,000 signatures. I'm on the ballot, not me. Our kids are on the ballot. But I want to have as much cushion so they know and hear loud and clear that we're here to win this. Thank you so much.